How to find a need in a market and fill it. One of the best ways to come up with a successful business model, whether it's for a product or a service, is to find a simple need in a market and then fill it. In other words, what do people want that they don't have, and how can you satiate that need for them? If you can do this, then you'll be able to clearly communicate the value you offer and theoretically see a lot of sales as a result. In this presentation, we'll look at some ways you can identify those needs and fulfill them. 1. Look at existing products. One way to find a gap in the market is to look at the existing products in that space. What you'll likely find is that a few companies have got the niche stitched up, but that there is still room for improvement and still room for new products. Ask yourself, who are these products not catering to? What don't these products do that could be useful? 2. Look for pain points. They say that a good writer should always write what they know. Likewise, a good business strategy is to always stick with industries and niches that you understand. In other words, when you choose what you want to make or offer, it is best to choose something that you understand, rather than something that you've never used or experienced yourself. This way, you can think back to your own personal experience of that thing and ask yourself what could have been done better. Or if there is a product or service you use every day and it fails, ask yourself how that product could have been made any better. Is that something you can fix? 3. Survey the market. Another simple way to find things that aren't out there is to survey the intended market. In other words, ask the people you're selling to what they would like to see more of and where they feel their needs aren't being met. 4. Consider smaller cross-sections. Speaking of the market, have a think about who the market includes and whether there is a group within that market which has distinct needs not felt by the rest. Maybe people who work night shifts could benefit from a twist on an existing product, or people with a certain disability. All these strategies can be fantastic ways to find new business opportunities. But remember that what made Steve Jobs so innovative and successful was his ability to anticipate what the market needed before the market knew itself. How to market your new disruptive idea. Got a new idea for a product or service that is going to be truly disruptive and change the way we see the world? Great. Only you're not the first, and you probably won't be the last either. The thing is, ideas are a dime a dozen, and actually the hard part is marketing those ideas and getting them to sell. That's where the marketing part comes in, and that's the difficult part. Unfortunately, it's even harder in many cases when your idea is exciting and new. Why? Because there is less point of reference and less context that you can use to explain your idea. So how do you get the word out about your new concept? Let's look at some options. In the beginning, the main aim of your marketing is often going to be explaining what your product is. This is your elevator pitch, and it's important that you've come up with a simple way to explain succinctly and clearly what your idea is, who needs it, and what they need it for. Another useful concept is to focus on the value proposition. In other words, where does the value come from with your new service or product? How does using this product make life better? Will your users be richer? Will they have more fun? Or will it improve their health? While the how and the what might be new, very often the why will be universal, and this will be key in communicating your message. In order to do any of this, though, you're going to need to think about whom your product is marketed to, and who will want to use it. This will tell you where to present your message, and how to present it. Have a think about the typical demographic that is likely to use your product, and think of comparable products and whom they are targeted at. Looking at comparable products is also a good way to get inspiration for your marketing. Finally, don't be afraid to embrace the newness of your product or service. In other words, if your product is so different that it stands out, then this can actually help it spread by word of mouth. Consider those 5-finger shoes by Vibram. These drew the eye so much that they practically marketed themselves. How can you get people talking about your brand? How to test an idea before bringing it to market. One of the worst things you can possibly do as an entrepreneur or any business person is to invest a huge amount of time and money into an idea that doesn't have an audience. If you spend thousands of dollars or countless hours developing a product that no one buys, then of course it is going to be money down the drain. And of course that may sound obvious, but it is an unfortunate reality that happens far more frequently than you might think. The problem is that we will often assume that because we want a certain product, that there must be market demand for it too. Or because something has been successful in the past, it will likely be successful in the future. This is not the case, however, and if you want to ensure your product will be successful, then there are some different precautions you need to take. In this presentation, we'll learn what those are. 1. Validation. In business terms, we call what we just described validation. The aim is to validate an idea for a product or business, and then test if it really has appeal. One way of doing this is to try selling the product or service before it's finished. You can do this by offering a beta test of sorts, by taking pre-orders, or even by having a sales page that informs the buyer you're out of stock only once they try to make a purchase. This is important because very often people will say they're interested in an idea, but they're not necessarily willing to pay for it. To test if your idea truly has legs, you really need your audience to put their money where their mouth is. Then you can calculate how much money you would have made and whether or not that would have been enough to make the work worthwhile. 2. Fail fast. A similar approach is to invest as little time and money into an idea as possible, but still release the product or service. This way, you can then start selling it as quickly as possible and testing to see if there's an audience there. If the product sells as is, called an MVP or minimally viable product, then you can invest more time in developing it and marketing it. If not, you move quickly on to the next project. Hence, fail fast. Top mistakes that new entrepreneurs make. Got a big new idea? Great. In all likelihood, you're probably extremely excited to bring it to market, whether it's some kind of service or some kind of physical product. Either way, though, you are now at a crossroads. People have amazing ideas all the time, but it is rare that they actually do anything useful with those ideas. All too often, those ideas don't come to anything because the person with the said idea never takes a chance on it, or because they go about it in the wrong way. Here are some of the most common mistakes that have robbed the world of truly incredible ideas, and what you can do to prevent the same fate happening to your own innovations. 1. Not validating the idea. Validation essentially means testing that there is an audience for a product or service. Having a great idea is one thing, but having a great idea that will sell is another. And if you want to make this a business, then you need to be able to sell it. To find out, you need to do some kind of trial run. This could mean selling a beta version, taking pre-orders, or running a Kickstarter. Anything as long as you are actively testing to see if the demand is there. 2. Not getting help. Too many inventors and innovators want to do everything themselves. Want to make a website? Then perhaps you think you have to create the logo yourself and learn HTML and Python. No. The way real professionals do it is to always outsource the most difficult parts of the process. This will save you time, and it will also result in a more professional final product, because it will be built by people who do this stuff for a living. 3. Not telling anyone the idea. Why don't entrepreneurs get help? Often it's because they don't want to tell people their ideas. Well, that makes it very hard indeed to get funding or even advice. If you're serious about your idea, then you need to start talking about it as soon as possible. Don't worry about people stealing your ideas. Either they have their own ideas or they don't have the means to do anything about your idea. The best way to protect an idea is to do it first and to do it best. In other words, stop making excuses and just do it.